I got home around 9:15 p.m., drained from a brutal double shift at the ER. My scrubs smelled like antiseptic, my feet were throbbing, and I hadn't eaten since breakfast. All I wanted was a hot shower and silence. Instead, I opened the door to my old bedroom and froze. Everything was gone. The bookshelf I built in college, my framed residency letter, even the string lights my best friend helped hang last Thanksgiving, all replaced. In the middle of the room stood my 14-year-old brother Jonah, swinging a baseball bat and shouting stats into his headset. My clothes were stuffed into trash bags, slumped in the corner like donations. My nameplate from med school sat face down near the door. Then I heard my stepmother's voice behind me. "You'll be staying in the sunroom until you figure out your next steps." No apology, just logistic. I turned to her slowly. "You didn't tell me." "You've been home for months, Riley," she said, arms folded. "Jonah's a teenager now. He needs space. This was always temporary." My stepdad didn't even pause the TV, just flipped to the Bulls game and muttered, "Let's not make this a thing." I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I walked to the sunroom, picked up the trash bags, and started sorting what was still mine. They'd taught me to respect the house, the rules, the unspoken rankings. I just hadn't realized I'd already been voted out. So I respected it. I respected it so much I left it. But standing barefoot in the hallway of my parents' Chicago condo, holding a trash bag filled with my life, I made a quiet promise. They wanted me out? Fine. I'd figure it out. But I wouldn't just scrape by. I'd become someone they couldn't overlook ever again. When I moved home last spring after finishing med school, I had a plan. It wasn't glamorous. I just needed a year to work, save money, and prep for residency. I'd graduated top 10 in my class. No debt, no scandals, just long nights and exhaustion. I thought that counted for something. At first they acted proud. My mom baked lemon squares. My dad called me Dr. Riley at dinner, half joking. We laughed. I thought we were all on the same page. I picked up shifts at the clinic while preparing for interviews. I did laundry, paid for groceries. I wasn't freeloading. I was surviving, focused, grateful. But around month 3, things shifted. My mom got snappy. She'd say things like, "Riley, can you be useful?" Even when I was literally folding towels or filling out licensing paperwork. The comments turned colder, jabs about motivation, work ethic. Then came Leela, my 17-year-old sister, loud, charming, star of the family. She started sighing dramatically about needing space for her portfolio and how sharing a room was ruining her creative flow. At first I laughed, teenagers, right? But my mom didn't laugh. And my dad just shrugged. "Hang in there, kiddo," he said. I kept thinking if I stayed quiet, kept being helpful, I'd earn my spot again. Turns out I was wrong. But the truth was, I was invisible in my own house. Not loud enough to be a problem, not impressive enough to be respected. I started noticing my things being moved. Medical books I'd spent years annotating were stuffed behind board games. My white coat was wrinkled on the laundry room floor. The hairdryer I always kept in the bathroom vanished, and Sophie acted like it had always been hers. Then she posted a TikTok dancing in my old room. I asked her to take it down. She smirked. "Relax. Nobody even knows it's yours." And that's what stung. She was right. It didn't feel like mine anymore. Not the furniture, not the walls, not the air. I began shrinking inside a house I once called home. I told myself to be patient. I had interviews coming up. I was almost there. Just a little more time. Then one night, I overheard my mom talking to Mrs. Alvarez from next door while they trimmed the front hedges. "Riley needs a wake-up call," Mom said. "She's been coddled long enough." Mrs. Alvarez said nothing, just offered a tight smile. I stood in the hallway, the weight of that sentence settling behind my ribs. I wasn't her daughter anymore. I was a burden, a problem. And a week later, I came home from a shift at the clinic to find my room wasn't mine anymore. Looking back, maybe I should have seen it coming. But when your family says they're proud of you, you want to believe them. I thought home was where you could go when you didn't have it all figured out. I was wrong. That first night in the den, sleeping on the floor, I wasn't just cold. I felt erased. And the next morning, I woke up angry. I didn't show it. I folded the blanket, grabbed my tote, and left early for my shift at the clinic. The receptionist noticed right away. I wasn't smiling. I didn't laugh at Dr. Chang's usual corny joke, and when a patient muttered something snide about my bedside mood, I nearly snapped. But I didn't. I took a breath and kept moving. Home. I kept quiet. I came in late, stayed out longer. I'd started applying to hospital residencies like it was my second full-time job. 25 applications in 2 weeks, most in cities I'd never even been to. Anywhere but here. My mom didn't ask how I was holding up. She asked when I'd start contributing more now that I was rent-free. My younger sister, Lexi, had already moved into my old room, painted it blush pink, hung up fairy lights, called it her study sanctuary. She told her friends I'd moved out, like I was a ghost. One afternoon, I got home early and heard my parents talking to a neighbor on the porch. "Riley's floundering," Mom said. "She's smart, but she's always been a little soft." Dad chimed in, "She'll figure it out. Maybe the pressure's good for her." I stood in the hallway stunned. That night, as I ate a frozen dinner, Lexi strolled in, glanced at my plate, and said, "Really? Is that your big doctor meal? No wonder you're stuck." I didn't reply. I just stared. Later that night, I opened my laptop to search for apartments, and then I saw it. The house next door was for sale. It looked like a wreck, but it was quiet, empty, and not my parents' house. I clicked save and kept scrolling. But my mind stayed fixed on that listing. A few days later, I saw a couple walking through the yard with a realtor. I felt something twist tight in my chest. That house wasn't anything special, but suddenly, I didn't want anyone else living there. I pictured strangers waving from the porch, just steps away from the people who made it clear I didn't belong. I imagined the small talk, the polite nods across the fence, pretending we weren't strangers under the same history. I wasn't ready to leave Chicago, but I also couldn't stay under my parents' roof one more day. So I started calculating. I pulled up my savings account. I checked what I had left from tutoring during med school. I emailed a few former classmates about side work, editing research papers, MCAT prep, residency application reviews. I made a spreadsheet, gave myself 90 days, and told no one. Not my dad, not my old med school roommate, definitely not my mom. They still thought I was figuring things out. Just not how they assumed. There wasn't going to be a dramatic exit. No slammed doors, no shouting. I wasn't giving them that story. I was done asking for space in a house where I was treated like a burden. I was going to carve out a space of my own. That house next door wasn't just real estate. It was a quiet rebellion. So I cut expenses to the bone, took hospital night shifts, freelance writing gigs. I turned every dollar into distance. Every evening, I walked past that peeling white fence like it was already mine. I named my budget folder Next Door, because soon it would be. If Riley's quiet strength and journey toward reclaiming her space spoke to something in you, tap subscribe, because her story isn't over, and the next chapter might just be the one you've been waiting for. That account became my lifeline. Every transfer into it felt like reclaiming a part of myself. A month in, I finally reached out to the listing agent. Her name was Kelly. She met me at the house one quiet Tuesday morning. Mom was at work, Sophie was at school. The house looked even worse up close. Peeling paint, crooked fence, carpet that had seen better decades. A bird's nest lodged beneath the porch light. "I know it needs a lot," Kelly said gently, "but for someone willing to put in the effort, it's a gem." I nodded. I didn't flinch. I didn't see rot. I saw freedom. The exact distance I needed to stay near my past but never live in it again. "How fast can we move?" I asked. Kelly blinked. "Are you pre-approved?" "I'm paying in full," I said. She stared, trying to gauge if I was serious. I was. By the end of the week, we were under contract. I signed the final papers alone, sitting in the corner booth of a quiet coffee shop after my night shift at the clinic. When the confirmation email came through, I tapped the signature box without hesitation. I was officially a homeowner. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. The place needed work, and I wanted to do it with my own hands. I didn't tell Mom, or Sophie, or anyone really. I showed up with a mop, a bucket, and a battered toolbox I bought off Craigslist. I scrubbed painted walls in a moody blue I'd always loved but never been allowed to choose. And in the back, I cleared the rocky mess and built a pool. Small, serene, lined up exactly with one window in my parents' kitchen. Then one morning, I packed my things, left my old house key on the hall table, and walked 50 feet next door. Opened the door to my own house, barefoot, tired, and proud. No one helped me. No one clapped, but I had done something more important than proving them wrong. I had proven myself right. The first time they saw the pool, it was early on a Saturday morning. I was stretched out on a lounger with a glass of iced coffee in hand, a towel draped over the chair, sunglasses on, phone set aside. I wasn't performing, I just wasn't hiding. The water caught the sunlight like it had something to say. The little waterfall I installed bubbled gently, the only sound in the yard. Their kitchen window had the clearest view. I saw the curtain shift. My mom's silhouette stood behind it, still, quiet. She didn't open the window. She didn't wave. She just watched. I didn't gloat. I didn't look back. That moment wasn't for her. It was for me. A few days later, my dad came to the fence. I'd just finished watering the lavender by the back gate. "Riley," he said softly. I turned. "You did all this?" "Most of it. Had help with the pool." He nodded. "Looks good. Real good. Thanks." He shifted a little. "Your mom was surprised?" "I figured. She thought you were still figuring things out." "I was. This is what I figured out." He looked at me for a long second. "You should come by for dinner sometime." I let the silence stretch. "I might," I said. He nodded once and walked away. That was the only real conversation we had that summer. My mom never spoke to me, never stepped across the driveway. But something in her changed. She stopped calling me lost. She started calling me Riley. Stiffness, like she was forcing herself not to look, like not seeing it would somehow make it less real. Sophie, of course, reacted exactly how I expected. One afternoon, she stomped over in her platform sandals, sunglasses perched like a crown. "You really had to put in a pool?" she snapped. "It's hot in Chicago," I said, gesturing calmly. "Hydration is essential." She eyed the clean porch, the fresh white trim, the new patio chairs I assembled myself. "Mom says you're just showing off." "Did she say that from the kitchen window or the garden hose?" I asked. Sophie rolled her eyes. "Whatever. It's not even that impressive." "Then it shouldn't bother you," I replied, letting the silence do the rest. She turned and walked off in a cloud of indignation. But I didn't feel the usual guilt, just clarity. I had chased their approval like it was oxygen for years. Now, I was finally breathing on my own. That weekend, I hosted a quiet dinner. A few med school friends, a charcoal grill, some jazz on a speaker. We sat by the pool with our feet in the water and plates balanced on our laps. I caught myself laughing. Genuinely. Someone asked, "How did you pull this off, Riley?" "I didn't know I could," I said. "Not until my room disappeared." Because that's when it all clicked. It wasn't the rejection. It was the truth behind it. When someone pushes you out, you either collapse or you rebuild. I chose to rebuild. And now, each morning, I open my back door to a yard I designed, a pool I paid for, and a piece I crafted from scratch. Not to impress anyone, but to remind myself that I was never stuck, just underestimated, and I don't live there anymore. This was mine. No one handed it to me, no one encouraged me, no one believed in me out loud, but I did it anyway, and that changed everything. I don't speak to my mother anymore, not out of hate, just choice. You learn over time that you can love someone and still protect yourself from them. She sends a text now and then, birthdays, holidays, Nothing personal. Just a sentence or two. I usually reply with the same. That's the peace we've found. My dad and I talk occasionally. He doesn't mention the past. He asks about my work at the clinic. He comments on the lavender in my yard. There's guilt in his eyes, quiet and unspoken. I let it sit. I'm not chasing an apology anymore. I don't need it. Sophie graduated high school last spring. I didn't go. We haven't spoken since the day she stood by my pool and called it a show. I think she knows she played a part in pushing me out. Maybe one day we'll talk. Maybe not. What matters is this. I'm not that girl on the den floor anymore. I've built a life with rhythm, with softness, with shelter. My house is small, but it's mine. I work remotely now for a nonprofit hospital network. I'm not rich, but I'm steady. I cook my own meals. I make my own rules. And more than anything else, I respect myself. I don't fight to be seen anymore. I live where I'm valued. Because when they took my room, they made room for my clarity, for my freedom, for me. And I gave those things to myself. Now when I walk into my own home, there's no tension in my shoulders. I don't brace for judgment. I hang my keys on the hook by the door, cook what I want, and let music fill the room without needing headphones. I swim when I feel like it. My peace comes first now. Sometimes, I still catch my mom peering through her kitchen window. I don't wave. I don't hide. That chapter closed. She made her choices. I made mine. And I'll never regret the moment I stopped asking for permission and started choosing me. If you're listening and you feel stuck, if someone made you believe you're too much or not enough, I want you to know you are not a burden. You are not behind. You are allowed to build peace, even if it starts with a small room or a big dream. I gave my room to my sister while I was still in the house, so I gave myself the world. If this resonated with you, like the video, leave a comment, I read them all, and subscribe for more real stories. I've got more to share. Until then, protect your peace. I'll see you next time. If you've ever felt like you were invisible in your own family, I see you. Drop a comment below. Tell me what moment made you realize you deserved better. Our story matters just as much as mine. Let's remind each other we're not alone in this. And if you're still in the thick of it, still waiting for your space, your chance, your voice, don't give up. You don't need permission to start choosing yourself.